but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I heard that song walking out of the store the other day, and it's been in my head ever since. I'm trying to do a skit to that song. What y'all think I should do? Type it in the chat. I'm thinking about doing a skit like maybe I lost my keys, or maybe I'm just dating a bunch of rat women and in the sketch, and I finally find one. I don't know. And I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I've been listening to a lot of music that reminds me of my childhood. You know what I'm saying? My therapist suggested that I start doing things that remind me of when I was a child. So I got movie posters up from the 80s music. I was born in 77. So, yeah, 80s music. You know what I did the other day? Me and my kids went to the store and I bought some coloring books. I've been coloring using old school crayons, too. It's something about the smell of the crayons remind me of when I was a little squirt. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to the Charlie Newhart Show. Like and subscribe if you like real content. If not, you know what to do. Don't matter. I'm tired of people lying. I'm just tired of people lying. I'm the person that's just going to tell you the truth. You know what I'm saying? That's me. I'm the guy that speaks truth no matter what. Actually, you know what? If you take your first name, middle name, and last name and get the meaning of each name and put it together, you have an idea what your purpose is. It's kind of deep for some of y'all, but like my first name means free man, Charles. My middle name is Levant. It means to rise up. And my government last name means to enforce the king's order. So if you put all of those words together, my first name, middle name, last name, my job is to stay free, rise up, enforce the king's order. So that's why a lot of my topics, and I'm seeing it in my topics, that's why a lot of my topics is against what, the agenda is, against what people is trying to push on people and kids. Like, nah, man, I'm gonna enforce the king's order, which is God's order. That's my job. So that's your homework assignment. And type it in the chat. Your first name, middle name, last name. Put it all together. And what does it mean? I feel like some people, when you put all their names together, it means liar. I'm tired of people lying. Right? So I got to address some things. I got a family member. She's telling everybody she got dementia. But she, I don't know if I believe it or not, because she's holding everybody hostage. Everybody going over to the house, checking on her, all that type of stuff. And like, I got dementia. I'm not feeling well. And then somebody called me and like, man, you got to come over here and check this out. I said, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. I got to see what's going on. So she had everybody over at the house, everybody doing stuff for her, feeling sorry for her. And I walked in the house in front of everybody. She was sitting at the kitchen table. I walked right over to the table and smacked the hell out of her in front of everybody. Why? And walked out the house. And I walked back in 10 minutes later, and she was like, looked at me, Charlie, why'd you hit me? I said, y'all see that? She ain't got no dementia. She remembered getting slapped 10 minutes ago. She playing y'all. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Stop lying. Talking about you got dementia. Tired of people lying. I'm speaking the truth. I'll stop you mid-conversation if you talking to me and you got that white cream build up in the corner of your mouth, the mouth grits. I'm going to stop you. Hey. You don't feel that in the corners of your mouth while you talking to me? Stop talking and go in the bathroom and wipe that stuff off your face. Or just hit, you know what I'm saying? Just hit them corners. I will stop you. I'm the person. I'm going to speak truth. I ain't going to be, some people will signal you. They'll be trying to do this while you're talking. No, I'm going to stop you. Or like if your breath is stinking, sometimes people, pop in a piece of gum and then they, hey, you want something? No, I'm going to just tell you, hey, man, your breath smell like booty meat. I don't know what you was eating before this meeting, but eat some gum. Or if you got mouth grits, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to tell you because I'm a true friend. I'm not going to have you walking around with that cream yeast buildup in the corner of your mouth. Your mouth got a yeast infection. I'm going to stop you mid-conversation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I speak the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to tell you something else. I'm speaking the truth. I think this new food, this new weed with no seeds in it, and this food with no seeds in it is making dudes gay and weird. It's a lot of weird zombie characters walking around here. I attribute it to this new synthetic weed, this man-made weed, food. Anything with no seeds in it is making people fruity. And think about it. If something doesn't have seeds, it doesn't reproduce. If two dudes get together or two ladies, they don't reproduce. So I think that's what it is. It's the food and the weed making people weird. That's my truth. My job is to rise up and enforce the king's orders. Stop smoking this weed with no seeds and eating seedless watermelon. It's making you fruity. What else? I'm gonna speak the truth. Just going through the notebook. Some of these homeless people be lying too. Tired of people lying. I was at the intersection the other day, and this dude was in a wheelchair, and he had a cardboard sign that said, war veteran, please help. I just want to eat. And man, my heart went out to dog. Man, I looked at him. I was like, okay, this is somebody I'm gonna help. Sometimes able-bodied people, you're an able-bodied 20-something-year-old man on the corner asking for money. I may not give you no money, but you in a wheelchair, look like you can't work. I'm gonna give you some money. So I rolled my window down. I got some money in my hand, and I'm getting ready to hand it to him, and I looked down at dog, and his shoes was dirty. I was like, wait a minute, man. If you're in a wheelchair, your shoes should be clean. You ain't walking. Why are your shoes dirty, dog? And right when I went to extend the money, I saw his dirty shoes. I took the money back, rolled my window up. Nope, you lying. Your shoes is not clean enough to be in a wheelchair. You lying. So yeah, tired of people lying. Even homeless people lie sometimes. Tell the truth. That's what we want. The world would be a much better place if people just tell the truth and be transparent. That's one of the things you can give your kids, the benefit of your mistakes. At age-appropriate levels, you should be telling your kids about the things that you did growing up. Your daughter, she can't stop twerking online, right? Why don't you sit her down and tell her that you used to dance at the strip club? You used to dance at the Brass Key on Livernois back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? You was getting to a bag. Also, let her know that you used to leave with people, for a couple extra dollars, they could get full service. Why don't you tell her that? Tell her you was out here. Tell her you was performing services in the Velvet Room. Somebody gave you $3,000 to hit your knees in the Velvet Room. Even now, the sound of a zipper makes your mouth water. Tell your daughter. As soon as you hear a belt buckle, instinctively, you want to drop to your knees. You need to be telling your kids about your past. This is what I did. This is what it cost me. I'm delivered now. You know what I'm saying? You a pastor now, or you a life coach, or you know what I'm saying? You a psychologist. You got some high level position, but in your teens and 20s, you was hitting your knees for a 30 ball. But you don't want to. No, that's my past. I don't want to. But now you see it in your kids. I'm telling you, what we've done, we see it in our kids. All my behaviors, all the stuff that I did, I see it in my kids full time. Crazy. So it's my job as they grow older. Like, this is what I used to do. I used to do this. I did this. Yeah, I hustled for a while. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I did some activities, to get to the money. I did this and this and this, and this is what it cost me. I bought this house with this and this hustle, and then I got robbed, gunpoint. Then I lost the house. And then, you You talk to all my kids, they'll tell you at age appropriate levels, I gave them the benefit of all my mistakes. You know, then they see me and stuff on TV. Nah, but it's like I could have been doing that in my 20s. What was I doing? Ignorant stuff I ain't had no business doing. And it cost me. So even now, like I picked wrong for so long. I picked so many wrong women. So now I'm on not just my sons, my daughters. Hey, these are the things I want y'all looking for when you picking somebody. Now, whether they listen or not, I can't even sit here and say all my kids is listening. I may have some kids that's just making some wild choices with relationships, and it ain't got nothing to do with me. Because I told you the benefit of my mistakes, what I did. This is how you pick. I gave all my kids the game. But we all got our own journey. You know what I'm saying? And the dope thing is the seed of the righteous is blessed. So my kids is only going to be able to get so far before they turn around and get it right. So they're going to be all right. But you got to give your kids the benefit of your mistakes. You got to tell them this what you did. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't believe in the statement somebody being born a certain way. I believe that there are generational iniquities. You know what I'm saying? So let's just say somebody say they were born one gender, but they should have been born another gender, and they got these confusing thoughts about their gender. Sometimes, in some cases, it's previous generations may have participated in some other type of activities. You know what I'm saying? Your granddaddy was in college, and he experimented with other dudes. You know, that's not my story. I'm just saying somebody's grandfather or father was in college, and he experimented with other dudes for 2-3 years and decided that's not what he liked, and he went back to women. Now his kids and grandkids is making certain choices, and y'all looking at little Timmy like, why little Timmy want to cut his hot dog off? Why he this and that? And why is Timmy smoking seedless marijuana and eating seedless watermelon? Why does he want to be on the other side? Why don't you sit down and tell dog what you did in college for 2-3 years? That's an iniquity. It just revisits the same generation. Look, my great grandfather had a car lot way back in the day, and he looked white. He could pass for white. Literally, when he came from Canada to America, it was white on his paperwork. You know what I'm saying? But he was mixed. And he used to tell me, Charlie, they didn't know I was the N-word. They didn't know. They used to let me date their daughters and everything. I was 8. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this information, Grandpa. Grandpa Percy looked white, but he was half black. And he passed. And somehow or another, he convinced a Chrysler executive to give him a Chrysler dealership. And he had his, and we still got the house in the family now in Romulus. But he had this house with a huge, I don't know if it's an acre or two, but it's a bunch of property. And they just gave him a bunch of cars to take to his house to sell because he lived on the main road. Had his own dealership. What are y'all doing? Hey. I thought I told y'all to stop throwing stuff in the street. I'm going to spank your butt. No. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to spank your... Dude, can I help you? If you're going to spank your kids in public, I'm going to record it, and I'm going to report you. What? You can't spank your kids with an open hand on their bottom in public. You can't do it. I report you. Come on, y'all, let's get it. So, my great-grandfather was selling cars to people, taking their money, and not delivering the car. So let's just say, because I think he only had maybe 10 to 20 cars at his house, and if it was a car there that they wanted that he didn't have, he'd take the money and say, yeah, well, I'm going to deliver it to you. Give me a week, I'll get that car. Would not deliver the cars to the people. And he did that so many times where he was taking the people's money, not delivering the car, where they basically just took the dealership from him and took the cars that he had. It's my great-grandfather. Now, he's got other things that he was, it wasn't all bad. He built this house in Romulus. It's still in the family. He was a skilled mechanic. He taught his sons. And then in turn, my father learned how to do it. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of my mechanic ability has came from my great grandfather. He passed that down. So there's successes and failures. I'm not completely crapping on my great granddad, but I'm saying, some of the stuff that's in your family is generational, successes and failures. We want to just take credit for the good, But a lot of times we don't even talk about the failures, the negative parts, because we just try to sweep that under the rug, but it'll reappear. It's like a weed. It'll keep popping back up. So he wasn't delivering the cars to people. So you fast forward years later, my dad owns a car lot, right? In Southwest Detroit. In the first couple of years, he didn't want to be there. He, I love my dad, but he just wanted to work on hot rods. He's a hot rod guy. He had hot rods at his house. He took some of his money, got this car lot, got some cars, and basically I was running it. I was there every day with my two kids. They was like 4 and 3. I couldn't really afford daycare at the time. I wanted to keep my schedule free to audition for TV shows and commercials and film and stuff. So I had the kids with me at the car lot while I ran my dad's lot. And I had somebody always on standby in case I had to go do an audition or whatever. So I don't want to work a 9-to-5 job because I wanted to be available for auditions. So I was flipping houses and also working at my dad's car lot. And make a long story short, in about 2 years, it turned into $1 million business. It started jumping, started implementing certain things, started selling cars, and we was just tearing everybody else up on Michigan Avenue. Nobody could see us. But as time started to progress, I was really tempted. Like, dang, man, I could take this money and I could do this. And I was wondering why the temptation was so strong to want to play people. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't do it. The only time we kind of got into some issues is when we started using credit acceptance. High interest rates with people with decent credit. And I think that was one of the reasons we saw a bit of a decline in the businesses, because first we only did cash. We didn't do no financing. We'd let you put the car in the layaway, you know what I'm saying, make payments on it, buy here, pay here. But we never worked with a finance company with high interest rates. And as soon as we started to do that, the business changed. And part of that is my fault. I kind of fell into the temptation of, dang, look at all this money. But I'm saying the reason I'm bringing this up is looking back on it in hindsight. The reason I had all these temptations with this car lot and why it was so loud is my great grandfather. It was on the bloodline. He had a car lot, didn't do right by the people, didn't do right with the franchise, and lost it. You fast forward some 50, 60, 70 years later. Now my dad's got a car lot, but I'm running it. And when we was just doing cash, buy here, pay here, layaway, stuff like that, business was slapping. And as soon as we jumped into this high interest rate credit acceptance trash, everything changed. Now that I look back on it, I wish I never would have did that, man. You know what I'm saying? And of course, the neighborhood changed too. It was some stuff that was out of our control. Like once they start putting bike lanes in front of your place of business in the hood, you know the white people is coming. Gentrification is coming. It's over with. And sure enough, they put bike lanes in front of the car lot. Then they started raising the taxes. And then they sent some inspector out that made my father pull down all his signs and everything and said that he had to hire some type of engineer from the city of Detroit to come out and tell you where to put your signs at. And that's going to be another $6,800 or something like that. It started to get stupid. So in the midst of the high interest rates, in the midst of the neighborhood gentrification, all the craziness, my dad just got burnt out. He just sold the business. He's like, I'm out. Bought him a house. Well, actually, he had a house built in Texas. He said, I'm done with this. He got pushed out, like which a lot of people in the city getting pushed out or changing their hours due to, like, there's 2 Detroits. I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but there's 2 Detroits. There's the downtown Detroit that's being gentrified, and right in the areas kind of right around it. And then there's areas like, Highland Park, stuff like that, where they don't really care. They just gutting them. It ain't really those are areas where it's still hood and ain't a lot of white people. But my dad's business was just outside of downtown Detroit, and all of those businesses I'm noticing now, they're either closed or they close early, or they've had to raise their prices super, super high just to deal with all of the gentrification pressures in the neighborhood. So I'm all for change. I don't mind change, but when you start to push out the people who have been there and providing a service for the neighborhood, I don't know. I don't know if there's a such thing as healthy gentrification. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know if y'all seen the report. Atlanta used to have the most overpriced houses in the nation. Now guess who's leading the way? Detroit. Detroit has the most overpriced houses in the country and the surrounding areas. The Detroit suburbs, sky high. Listen, I bought a house in Canton in 2010 for $65,000, and it needed, now this is 14 years ago, it needed copper pipes that was taken out of the house, closet doors. I redid all that, redid the kitchen. Bought it for 65, sold it for 95. The next year, like 2011, something like that. That same house right now, $350,000. So it's almost, it's $300,000 on top of, I bought it for $350,000 now. Unreal. People who make $20 an hour right now, there's no way you buying a house anywhere reputable. You know what I'm saying? You got a couple that's making $20 an hour each. They barely getting a decent home. It's unreal. But the reason the prices are so high is because y'all paying it. I refuse. The reason the prices of cars are so high, y'all paying it. There's no way a F-150 should be $60,000, $70,000. There's no way a Sierra Chevy truck should be $75,000. Why are y'all? I feel like we're dealing with the dumbest consumer in American history. It used to just be if stuff was too high, people would just stop buying. But now everybody, well, I got to get it. It's going to be the last one. It's the last one on the showroom floor. It's the last house on the street. And you out here buying a 2-bedroom frame house with no basement, no garage in Inkster for $180,000. Man, what? Y'all know if y'all just stop buying, the prices have to come down. Somebody got to take a stand. Stop buying these expensive cars. Stop buying these overpriced houses. But the problem is you got a pie mentality. You think there's just enough, but really it's a river. There's more than enough. Everything happens in cycles. There will be a time where houses become affordable. This is what I believe. Because Isaiah 59:19 says, when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord raises up a standard against him. The enemy came in like a flood right after the pandemic. The pandemic happened. People were displaced out of their homes because it was like you couldn't go to work and your kids couldn't go to school. But then when they could go to school, virtual learning, you had to be at home to do virtual learning. What happens if you had a 9-to-5 job? But you got school-age kids that's 5, 6, 7 years old. So now you got to be at home with them. How you going to work? So a lot of people were displaced. That was just the tragedy of it. A lot of people were displaced from their homes because they couldn't afford to stay there. So they moved out of these houses, moved in with family, right? World opened back up. None of us got paid for sitting at home virtual teaching our children. World opened back up and these people went to go back to their houses. Now those houses is gone because the banks bought up all the houses. Overseas investors bought up all the houses. I feel like there should be a rule that you should live in the United States if you're going to buy property here. You got people in China. All these people were just buying up property like crazy. So when you went to move back into that house you moved out of during the pandemic, now you can't even afford it. Because that $300,000 house that you moved out of during the pandemic now is $600,000. It's either $600,000 or it's for rent now because some Asian billionaire then bought the house that don't even live in this country. And now the rent on that house is $4,500 a month. When you left, it was like $3,000. And that's the real tragedy of what's going on in the United States that's not widely addressed as possible is when you inject all of this money into the economy, into people, all this free money, all of this stimulus money and all this, and not allowing people to work and blah, blah, blah. It creates kind of this false reality that money's always available. It's okay. It's okay. So you got people buying all this stuff that's too expensive. But then what ends up happening is there's this erosion of the middle class, slowly but surely. It's either you have it or you don't. Or in order to get it, you got to work 2 jobs and have a bunch of roommates. And it's really, I can understand why I see the pressure of people out in this world. Driving, establishments. It's a tense pressure because, groceries is $600 for 2 kids 1 week. A Sierra pickup truck is $75,000. The house that should be $200,000 is $600,000. And you got to work, and it eats up all your free time. And you don't have money to go on vacations. And it's the way of life that you were used to has now been eroded. And there's so many pieces to that, pandemic, staying in the house. All prices of goods and services have risen, but the wages have stayed the same. What's going on, man?
Hey, I'm here to pick up my kid.
Cliff, right?
Who are you?
Oh, I'm just a family friend.
Is Beatrice here?
Yeah, she inside asleep.
Where's my little girl?
She'll be out in a minute. She's doing her chores.
Beatrice never mentioned anything about you.
Kind of look at this as this is my storage facility, Beatrice let me hold a few things here, and I pay her a storage fee for holding on to things for me.
What kind of work do you do?
I provide things.
Okay, things like what?
Well, what do you need? Well, like I said, man, your little girl will be out in a minute, man. You ain't got nothing to worry about with me, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm here on strictly business. You know what I'm saying? I will tell you, though, man, if you're trying to work the marriage out with her, there's a few things you may want to know.
Well, yeah, we're having a tough time right now. We've been separated for a little while, but we're trying to work through it, Looks like we're making progress. We're gaining ground.
She told me about your little problem. You know what I'm saying? Your ED, your erectile dysfunction. If you're getting ready to get down with her, maybe go get you a gas station boner pill or something, man.
Wait, she told you that?
Too, she told me about the streaks in your drawers, man. It's nasty. Here's a little tip. Instead of wearing white underwear, man, just get you some dark drawers. If you got a problem with wiping, just go to the dark drawers, man. That's 2 things.
She told you that too?
And she told me that you cry after sex all the time, man. You need to cut that out. All right? If you get all emotional after you spray, just get up and go to the bathroom. Don't let her see you cry after you spray, all right? That's just a few things right off the top, all right? Then get your money up, okay? I don't know if you noticed or not, but I've been paying the bills over here for the last year. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry you're finding out this way, but this has been my storage facility for the last couple years. You know what I'm saying? She just kind of kept it hush. But you got to get your money up, big dog. You got to hustle. I know you a starving artist or whatever. What are you, a musician? You a violin player or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Listen, you got to fight with 2 hands, man. You know what I'm saying? You got a family in here. If you're going to pursue music, you need to also have you a 9-to-5 job, all right? Take care of your family. You got an old girl in here paying all the bills. You feel me? It's time to get your money up, man. You're a grown man.
All right.
So let's just run down the list. Gas station boner pill. Dark drawers. You're going to stop crying after you spray. And also, man, you're going to go get you some money. I got a job for you if you need one.
No, thanks. No, thanks. I'll figure it out.
You good? Well, let me know. I'm always looking for employees. So, remember what I told you, man.
So you guys don't have anything going on, huh? There's nothing romantic at all?
Her name is Beatrice. I don't mess with women that got old slave names anyhow, so I'm just a family friend. All right, man, let me see if she's ready. Hold on. Allison, you ready?
Oh, okay. Hey, honey.
Get your behind back in there and cut that bedroom light off. Hey, unball your fists, man. You ain't gonna do nothing. Hurry up. Come on. All right. Go on with your daddy. All right, listen, man. Have her back here at 8 o'clock. You understand? Remember what I told you.
All right. Take care.
So, I mean, many of y'all know my story. You know what I'm saying? I was living in California during the pandemic, and they shut everything down. Comedy clubs, production studios, everything shut down. I had just did Star Trek. I thought I sneezed. I just did the TV show Star Trek. I had a guest star speaking part, and everything shut down. And then when they opened back up, they said you had to have, you know what I'm saying, you had to take that thing, the Maxine, in order to audition, in order to be on set. I didn't want to take it, and, you know, it is what it is. Lost my agent. Actually, we just went our separate ways. Couldn't audition no more. My way of life, my way of living just changed. And that only lasted a short period of time. Well, actually, not a short period of time. It was a couple of years. So eventually I was like, I got to eat somehow. So I got my CDL license and I hopped on the truck. And the cool thing is some commercials was still hiring. Like, I was driving the truck for a while. Then I landed a great national commercial, paid like 5 figures, and I got off the truck for a while. Then I get back on the truck, then I'm back off. So I kind of been like off and on the truck for the last 2-3 years, depending on what kind of job I book, specifically commercials. Some commercials still been cool. Optima Tax Relief has still been cool. I did a Gardner White commercial. I did a Cadillac commercial. So some commercials still been cool. So depending on what they paying, if it's decent enough, I may take some time off. So right now I'm doing like part-time driving the truck. And I've been doing that same job for almost 18 months, and my pay's been exactly the same. Meanwhile, and we deliver to Starbucks. Meanwhile, Starbucks has increased their prices by 5%. You know, and then they got us doing a bunch of little extra stuff in the trade. We're doing more work than when I first started. More routes, more work, same pay. So then they told us, hey, well, you know, submit something in the survey. We'll see if we get you guys a raise. I did the survey. That was about 6 months ago. And then they said, well, hey, we got this thing where it's called Kaizen, where you can submit your requests to upper management. And if they agree to the request, you know, we'll implement the change and you'll get a check for it. Basically, you get money for your ideas. So I submitted it through this website called Kaizen, blah, blah, blah. That was 4 months ago. Still nothing. I made complaints in the meeting. Still nothing. Nothing at all. So my wages, and this is probably the same for a lot of industries nationwide. I'm really glad to be in this position right now because I get an opportunity to experience what's going on nationwide. How many of y'all, maybe you could type this in the chat, how many of y'all, your wages have been the same in the last year, 2 years, but you've watched everything else go up? Now, how's that possible? Goods, services, groceries, everything's going up, but the money that you paying is exactly the same. That's that gap. Someone's making money on that gap. Because if Starbucks can raise their prices by 5% and open up new stores, but still pay these drivers the same amount of money, somebody's getting the bag. All I'm saying is a lot of what we're experiencing right now is greed. There's no way a Sierra truck should be $70,000. And the reason the greed is continuing to stay is because, number one, y'all paying the money for these houses and these cars. Because you're like, oh, I got to get it. I got to get it. Why? Do you have to? What happens if you just waited? What happened if you moved in with family? You know what I'm saying? What happened if you rent an apartment for a year or two? Things calm down. Rent on apartments is high as crap too, but I'm saying the prices of these houses and these cars. What happened if you drive a used car for a year or 2 years? Is that gonna hurt you? Now, if you got it, you got it. I ain't mad at you, but I'm talking about this sliver of middle class that's getting smaller and smaller. A lot of it is because people are paying the money, you know, and then a lot of the tension that we feel is because people don't have the free money to do the things that they love to do anymore. You know, I can remember 99, 2000. I was working at Ford on the assembly line. I was making $70,000 to $80,000 a year back in 99, 2000. I can remember I had enough money to take my car to D-Tech on Greenfield to get my duals, Flowmasters, cam work, spring shocks, put it in the air. Then I could go buy my Daytons, put the Daytons on there. Rebuilt a motor. I took a 354 bolt main, put a new crank, new forged pistons, oval port heads. I bought all new stuff. I got my trans rebuilt. I had a turbo 350 trans, $250 to get it rebuilt. You know what I'm saying? I took it to Canada, got it painted. It was like $500 to get it painted. I mean, man, I bought my sounds. Where did I go to get my sounds? I think I went to Gibraltar Trade Center. I bought two 12s, two MTX 12s, my amp, radio, tweeters, 6x9s, door speakers. I'm talking about I had extra money to do the things that I love to do. Which I love cars. Love cars. Or go on vacation. You know what I'm saying? I had a conversion van on rims and sounds with TVs and you know what I'm saying? I bought a house, Joy Road in Wyoming. I was 22 years old for $110,000, right behind the Dairy Queen on Landco. 22. I got a Cutlass, conversion van, my own house, first house in my name. You know what I'm saying? I was kind of doing some stuff I shouldn't have been doing as well, but I did have. Damn, I ain't gonna lie. I bought the house first, then I got the job. So, you know, I was kind of hustling a little bit, but I'm saying I had a house at 22 and I had cars and it was fun. Now we got to work for that type. We got to work hard for that stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. It's hard. It was easy. I was doing that. I had a car wash in Romulus. I was working at the airport. Finally, when I stopped hustling, I got a car wash in Romulus, a hand car wash. I started working at Ford. I was working at the airport too. I was doing it all. You feel me? And but it was easy. It was so easy. Now you got to work hard for that stuff. You got to work hard. First of all, if you want to buy an old school car, the prices is so stupid because people have flooded the game that don't know cars. They just want to profit. So it's a lot of people, you know, they got a rusty 86 Cutlass G-body for sale for $6,000 and people paying it. When that same car 5-6 years ago was you know, $1,000. The dumb consumers and people flooding the market with trash. And what happened is during the shutdown, the internet just brought everybody together in one unit. And now it's like, dang, they asking $6,000 for this Cutlass over in Indiana. I'm gonna ask that too. Or they asking $6,000 for this Cutlass in California. I'm gonna ask that too. And it's like that Cutlass in California is cleaner than this one in Indiana. Why are you asking? They're not the same. But then you'll get some dummy who got a couple dollars that's always wanted the old school, new to the game, and he'll go buy it. And be geeked. Man, I bought this Cutlass, man. It's an 86. It's got a V6 in it, man. It's clean. Like you bought a V6 Cutlass for $6,000. And it need body work. And the shifter ain't in the flow. It's on the column. Bench seat. You got played, homie. And they saw you coming a mile away. Mile away. I miss them days, man. Used to hang out. We go to Starters on Plymouth. Then we go to Lee Elegance, little gentleman's club right there. After that, we go to Starters to eat, then Lee Elegance. Then we shoot over to Livernois. You know what I'm saying? Actually, after that, it was Starters, Lee Elegance. Then we would go downtown. Go to Belle Isle. We'd be geeked when we come on up on the tunnel on Jefferson because we see all the brake lights. Like, okay, downtown is slapping. Jefferson would be packed with people. We got the African American Festival downtown at Hart Plaza. Then we'd go to Belle Isle, ride around, holler at chicks, get phone numbers. You know what I'm saying? And then after Belle Isle, we'd come back to Livernois and maybe hit the Brass Key, another gentleman's club. And then when the brass key let out at 2, now we got the races right here on Livernois. So we go down, maybe racing. I was racing people up and down Livernois in the Cutlass. I was eating up vets in that boy. Then after that, maybe we go hit a little after hour spot, little gamble spot, go home. But you had money to hang out all weekend. I can remember going to the Chicken Wing Cabarets at the DAV Hall on Jefferson, Cosmos and Inkster. It wasn't nothing to blow a couple dollars over the weekend, but it was like $10 to get in the cabaret. How much it costs to go hang out now? Now, don't get me wrong, man. I work hard for mine. I hustle. I still like to go out and have a good time. You know what I'm saying? I still love to travel. I still do things. I'm just saying you got to work harder now than what you had to back then. You know what I'm saying? But our whole goal in Detroit back in the day was to stack during the winter to shine in the spring and summer. Because you only got, maybe 12 good weeks of great weather in Detroit. And all them other weeks you stacking, hustling to shine during those 12 weeks of good weather. It was easier back then. Easier. I remember stacking up $4,500 to buy a 75 Delta drop top. All white interior, 30-inch wheels. I mean, it had 30-spoke wires. 215s in the trunk when I bought it. 350 Rocket. I missed that car, man. Now that same car that was $4,500 back in 2000, car probably $25,000 now. The way it was, pearl white on wheels with probably $25,000. I wish I would have kept some of them cars, man. I wish I would have. It's coming back though. You know, it's sometimes it gets greater later, you know. The desires in your heart, they got to come to pass. Somehow, some way. But man, stop paying all this money for these cars and these houses, man. Just wait. Or do your due diligence to find something that maybe need a little work or put the work in, you know what I'm saying? But right now, it's time to work on yourself. I'm going to tell you what y'all should be doing at this particular time, and I'm doing it. You should be investing in yourself. Everything's high right now, so I'm going to school to be a licensed therapist. I'm in school for psychology with a specialization in trauma. Investing in yourself, taking classes, learning a trade. I picked up a trade. I went and got my CDL license. You know what I'm saying? Reading some books. This is the time to work on yourself. So when everything turns around, you've invested so much in yourself. Like, I'll give you an example. So when everything shut down, they wouldn't let me audition for shows and comedy clubs was closed. I just started investing in online content. I just started making online content. I had no followers. I wasn't even on social media. And then after a couple of years, I got like 23,000 on Instagram, 25,000 on YouTube, and 27,000 on TikTok. When I started at zero, when the pandemic started, I had zero. By the end of it, you feel me? And now that's just a community no matter what. So if the industry gets weird again, I still got this community and I still so into y'all. Now I take breaks every now and then, but I'm like, I enjoy creating art, just putting it out. It's when art meets commerce is when it kind of gets weird. And that's when, you know, some of the ideologies of Hollywood and, you know, it being kind of a good old boys club, it can kind of mess with certain people's psyche because really when you're auditioning for shows, you saying, pick me, pick me, pick me. And you got to be willing to manage rejection. Because what if you don't get picked? Like I auditioned for TV shows for probably about a year before I finally landed Chicago Fire. And I remember I was a stand-in for Boris Kodjoe on this TV show called Cold Black in L.A. A stand-in basically is you just stand there, you kind of look like the main actor to get the lighting right, make sure you cool. and then you step away for the main actor to do his thing. Or if the main actor's got to leave and do something or can't be there, you'll stand in a spot. So there was a couple scenes where Boris had to go do something. So they put this mask like on my face, hospital hat on, surgeon gloves, whatever. And I was just in the room walking around looking like Boris Kojo, but I wasn't him, almost like a stunt double. I was doing that when I got the call from my agent saying, hey, can you be in Chicago tomorrow for an audition on Chicago PD with the director, a straight to director audition, which is very rare. Most TV shows and national commercials, you got an audition, then you got a call back, and then they let you know. So your audition, you probably send in a self-tape. And if they like how you look or they like how you read, they bring you in for what's called a callback, which is like the second audition or second interview. So you go in for that, and then that's where you got the camera in front of you, the director and everybody sitting at the table, and then they're making a little small talk with you, and then you do your part. So basically, they just eliminated the self-tape video, the first one. They went directly to the meat and said, hey, we want you here for a director, straight with the director audition for Chicago PD. Can you be here? No, it's 2 days. Can you be here in 2 days? And I'm listening to this voicemail because I couldn't answer the phone because I was already working on this show in LA. And I called my agent back. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I had no clue how I was going to make it happen. I was like, yeah, I could be there for sure. And, bought a ticket, flew to Chicago, went in, killed the role, booked it, killed the audition, and booked the role. Glory to God. All right. Where was I even going with that story? I got long-winded. Basically, that all changed, right? That all changed. And it wasn't too, then I did Star Trek after that, and then they just shut everything off. And I had zero social media, but I still wanted to create art. I still wanted to have fun. I still wanted to, and I started doing online content. And I started building a little buzz, and some of the videos went viral. I'm like, oh, this is fun. This is cool. But then also, too, even on that side, there's gatekeeping. If you say certain things and do certain things in the video, then it won't get, the shine that it should. And, if it's not promoting a certain agenda, blah, blah, blah. So it's like politics on each side, which can kind of be frustrating sometimes. But you close one door, got to open up another. And I just learned to be creative and have fun, even when a door is closed. So, just let that be motivation to y'all, man. If one door closes, there's another door that's open. Or that's where I was going. Work on yourself. In them long-winded stories I had. Work on yourself. When things happen, okay, Hollywood shut down. They won't let me audition. Okay, now let me go over here and do my own content. You know what I'm saying? Continue to work on you. Don't let nobody stop you. Just do something else. Right now is not the time to be spending a whole bunch of money. The time now is to save as much as possible, work on yourself, because everything's high and it's got to come down, but it won't come down if you keep buying the stuff. You know what I'm saying? Stand on it. Check out the website, iamcharlienewhart.com. Put my book back on there. I Am Dirtbag. You can get that. It's an audio book. I wrote that during the pandemic. I wrote an audio book. I did a comedy special. I started doing online content. It was like, y'all can't stop me, man. You can't stop a real hustler. You shut one door, I'm going to open up another one. You figure out a way. Instead of complaining, work on yourself. That's what this season is about. You can get my shirt on my website, Crazy But Capable. Live shows coming up soon. Yeah, man. Movie about my life, too. That's coming real soon. I'm really grateful. Hey, man, I love y'all because I love myself.